Hey everybody, Jeff from Coleus. Alright, we're going to do a little something different today. We're going to take care of our rootings. I'm going to show you a couple of things that you need to be aware of if you're overwintering your Coleus. And we're going to do a little coffee. So we got coffee and Coleus, or Coleus and coffee today. I'm going to show you how I make the best coffee. I love coffee. And you know what? I started drinking coffee very late. When I was working with the state police, I was transferred. I was down in their main division headquarters, and I was the new guy. So the new guy had to make coffee for everybody. So they said, Zacario, coffee now. I had to go and make coffee for everybody. So I got hooked. Then I work a night shift and so forth, so I got hooked on coffee. So now it's not just a drink to me, it's an obsession. It's a must. I need it every day. And I have a few things here. I want to show you how I make the best coffee. There's actually two ways I make the best coffee. So let's have some fun. Coffee and Coleus, Coleus and coffee, and we'll show you how to take care of your rootings and what to expect and how to take care of your overwintered Coleus. I have a few here. I don't keep a lot of overwintered Coleus in general. I used to keep some larger ones, but I you know, over the years, it depends. It really depends. This year, I have a larger Saturn, which is really a medium size compared to in the past, and I have a little inky fingers. So let's get started and have some fun and have some coffee. I need it. I just finished work this morning, got a couple of hours of sleep, but it's time. I need some coffee. Okay. Now, you can hear in the background our chipmunks, our resident chipmunks have joined us. I think they heard coffee. So, all right, first thing. What's first thing? Hey, everybody has their taste. Everybody has their preference. I tried all types of coffee. I love 8 o'clock, 100% Colombian, and I get the fresh beans. I get these on Amazon. I've tried all different coffees, and to me, this is by far the best and most flavorful coffee. And I grind it up. I'm going to show you how I do it, and it's really good stuff. If you haven't tried it, I recommend it, and it's actually not as expensive as most other coffees, which is a bonus. I don't generally shop coffee for discount. I shop it because I love coffee, so I'm gonna get the good stuff. And yeah, there's coffees out there that are way more expensive, but this stuff is the best. So if you haven't ever tried it, try it. And this is the Colombian Peaks, 100% and whole bean. I always like the whole bean. I do have some regular ground if I don't have the time, but I like to make it fresh by grinding up the beans. And I have two different ways of making coffee I'm going to show you. Both ways. The percolator, the stovetop percolator. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we're doing just around 7, 8 cups. Today I have some time. I want some really good coffee. I got this. This is a new old stock, copper bottom, Farberware. That really shows. Farberware stovetop percolator. So this is sort of the old school route. Remember, you have to wet. Make sure you wet the basket, which I did already, in the top here. That keeps the grinds from getting into the water as much as possible. And then we have to grind up our beans. Now, percolators and so forth, you want to make sure you grind them, but you don't want to over grind them. And I'm going to show you my bun machine also next, which is very important into properly grind your coffee. You don't want to you don't want to get it powdery. You don't want to grind it so much that it's like a powder, because it's going to go through the basket. And I'm going to show you in a minute, it's going to overflow your bun machine. So here we go. We'll gently tap this in. So I have my water in here already. And a lot of times what I do while I'm doing this is I have the water already, I already have the stove going low until I get this going. Here we go. And then we turn it up to like a medium-high heat. Medium-high heat. And we'll let that brew medium-high heat until it starts to percolate. And then what I do is I set my stove for 7 minutes. If you like it really strong, you can make it 8 or 9, but I like it at 7 minutes. That's about 6 to 8 cups, 7 to 8 minutes, and that's a nice, it's a really delicious coffee. It really comes out. It just comes out. It's so flavorful. It's really good stuff. I love these stovetop percolators. My father had one, and it was so old. It must have been from the 40s. It was a small 4-cup, and it had, all it had left was a little piece of Bakelite handle. If you're not sure, if you don't recognize what Bakelite is, that's the old, they still use it. This is Bakelite, I imagine. It's just, it doesn't burn, and it doesn't heat up. It's the old school anti-heat material they use for different items that would be under heat, like for cooking, pan handles and so forth, Bakelite. So anyway, it had this little, what was left of a full Bakelite handle was on the top. It was about this big, and it was on a swivel, and it barely held on. And I remember just growing up, seeing my dad make coffee with the percolator, and it's sort of like a Yankee Candle. And it's sort of like a Yankee Candle. I don't even put the fan on. I let this brew, and the whole house smells like coffee. It really is. It's an excellent way to make coffee. So remember, beans, don't grind the beans too fine. Make sure you wet your basket. Put your beans in. The most important part, water. I use filtered water, either from my refrigerator filtered, or I have spring water. I have a spring water cooler. I never use tap water out of the sink. Unless you live in New York City, that's the only time I would probably use tap water, because New York City has the best water anywhere. Okay, now this is my most commonly used machine. This is a Bunn home brewer. And I highly recommend, if you love coffee and you have the room, and these aren't the big restaurant ones. These are based on the big restaurant ones, but they're a fraction. They're half the price. I get these on Amazon. You can get them in a lot of hardware stores sell them also. You can find them in stores. Target probably has them. Look online. I get them on Amazon. I think I paid $110 or $108, and they last for years. But these make the best coffee because they have the water in the back. It's in a stainless steel tank, and the stainless steel tank keeps the water heated at 180 degrees, which is the optimal temperature to make good coffee. That's the number one reason why a lot of these smaller, cheaper coffee machines don't make good coffee, is because they don't heat the water, and also they don't heat the water hot enough, and also it's the way it dispenses the water over the coffee grounds. But this comes in two types. It comes in the black or white. And I've used these. This is my third machine over 15 years. So they last a few years. Eventually what happens sometimes is it'll start to, I found it leaked on the bottom a little bit. And then I knew it was time to, sort of like your hot water heater. I mean, it holds hot water all the time. So it's not gonna last forever, but you're gonna get good. And I use it a lot. So if you're not a heavy coffee drinker, you maybe make a cup every couple of days or whatever, or you make coffee every other day or once a day. It'll last you for years. Just like anything, if you take good care of it, it's going to take good care of you. I'm going to go over a couple of things, major things that I found over the years to make sure that this stays functional and keeps your coffee tasting the best. Okay, one important thing, if you're not going to use the machine for a few days, this is a pour over actually. So when the water that's in the tank is already hot, you decide how much coffee you're going to make. I put up to like 5 cups. I measured it out. Measure out about 5 cups of water, and you pour it in. And what this does when you pour this in, it displaces 5 cups out of the hot into here, and it showers down. Again, it has a shower head, and that's why you get really good coffee out of this machine. If you haven't used the machine in a few days, there's going to be a little bit of evaporation. So if, say, you haven't used the machine in 3 or 4 days and you want to make 8 cups of coffee, I would put like an extra cup in to make up for the evaporation, because the heater obviously is going to evaporate. So always remember that. There's always going to be a little bit of evaporation on these, but it's a great machine. Makes really, really good hot coffee. Just remember, if you're going to grind your beans, make sure you don't grind them too fine, especially if you're making a full pot, a 10 cup, because the fine beans will float. The finely ground coffee won't, the water won't mix in as well as the regular ground, and it may overflow out of the basket. So grind your beans on the moderate side. Don't go crazy and grind them really fine, or just buy regular ground coffee. Again, I use the 8 o'clock bean. Makes great coffee. Highly recommend Bun, the home brews. These are awesome. All right, while we're doing that, we're waiting. I hear it's starting to perk, but it's not percolating yet. Once I start to see it's bubble on the top, then I'm going to lower the flame a little bit. But right now it's percolating. I can't wait. What a great smell. It's like I don't even want to drink the coffee. I just want to make it and just sit here and smell it. Okay. We're percolating. So what we do is you lower the heat down, and you lower the heat because you don't want your coffee to burn. If you percolate too hot, then your coffee is going to taste, it's going to be like cowboy coffee. And unless you really like that old school cowboy coffee, which is really bitter, strong, once it starts to percolate, lower your heat. It's still going to percolate, but you're not going to burn your coffee, and it's going to taste really, really good. Set my alarm. I'll set the stove alarm. We're making like 7 cups, so like a minute for a cup. And we'll let that percolate for 7 minutes. All right, there we are. Look at that steam. That's better than a Yankee Candle. We got a Yankee Candle. We got Yankee Candle action going here. Very, very flavorful coffee. All right, one other, I want to say caveat, but one other note about using a stovetop percolator. Unless you have a family or a get-together and you're going to use it all in one sitting, once the percolation is done, once it's finished and you shut it off, you have to take it off the burner and let it sit and drain down. But if it's full, it's not going to be able to, you're going to have to pour, wait a minute or two, let it settle, let the water settle down, the coffee settle down rather, and then pour your first cup or whatever. But the rest of it, you're going to have to leave it on the stove, or if you have a hot plate, put it on a hot plate to keep it hot. I don't have a hot plate, so what I do is once this is done percolating, which is almost done now, I'll take it off, let it drain down, and then I'll put it, I have this preheated, I'll actually put the coffee from the percolator in this decanter and leave it on the burner, and that way I can have a cup and then I can have some more later, and it'll stay hot on a burner plate. Because if you just leave it on the stove, obviously the coffee is going to get cold and it's not going to taste as good, and you don't want to really reheat your water. So I know it sounds like a major ordeal, but it's really not. Just kind of look at, take the little points I take. Get a percolator. It's really good. It's done. Okay, we'll put it over here. Shut that alarm off. It's going to perk for a few more minutes. And I'm sure if you've never used a percolator, this is it. If you've used a percolator, then this is really old school stuff that you know already. Okay, as you see, I'm a Darth Vader fan. So, all right, so we're going to pour our first cup here. And I'm pouring it first before I remove the basket, because when it's full like this, there's nowhere for the water to drain all the way down. So you want to pour your first cup gently. Don't tilt too much because you don't want the grinds to come out. And then we'll open this up. So you can see you still have some coffee. So we're going to let this sit until it completely drains down. I'm going to put this cap back on. Completely drains down. And then what I'm going to do, as I mentioned, I'm going to return it. I'm going to pour it into the preheated decanter to keep my coffee all day long. But if I'm not making percolated coffee, then obviously I'm going to make this real quick. It's not going to seem like a big ordeal. I'll have the coffee made and it stays on the decanter for however long. And you know, again, same thing with coffee. If it sits for 2 hours, it's going to taste horrible. So you recommend using, making as much as you're going to drink within a half an hour or so. They say after 15 minutes you got to throw it away. I don't, but I don't have coffee sitting on my machine all day long. I'll drink it within an hour or so, and it's fine. But excellent machine, highly recommend it. Bun coffee machine, 8 o'clock Colombian bean peaks, Darth Vader. You can't go wrong. Oh, and another thing, this is really your taste. Some people drink black coffee. Occasionally I'll drink a black coffee, not that often. I like half and half. I tried all sorts of brands of half and half. And this really depends on where you live too. You may not have this brand available to you. And I think they use this in Dunkin' Donuts. But this is absolutely, to me, the best half and half. I've tried all brands of half and half. This lasts longer in the refrigerator. It tastes the best. I've tried the organic stuff, and to me, it doesn't. This tastes just as good. And of course, how much you put in is up to you. But Cream Olan half and half. I used to use light cream, but it's just too strong. I don't need it, and it is quite more expensive. Half and half is fine. Good stuff. It really rounds out your great cup of coffee. It really makes a great cup of coffee. This is the best stuff. This is outstanding coffee. Give it a try. Trust me. All right, this is drained. We'll put this in the sink. Transfer the rest of this in here. I know it sounds like a big ordeal, but it's not. It's not. It's well worth it. At this point, I already had my cup, so I'm good. Got it back in here, and we'll keep her on the warmer. Good stuff. Okay, before we get to the rootings, I'm going to really quickly show you. Here are my two. I have three. No, actually, I have 4. Overwintered Coleus going on here, and this is the ideal location. And if you want to overwinter Coleus plants, probably the single most important thing you need to do is make sure you find the brightest location in your house that is as close to what you would consider like a greenhouse environment. This is a bright south facing bay window, and if you're a regular follower to Jim's Holiest Coleus, you know this location. This gets an abundance of sun all day long, and of course in the winter as well, but the sun is not as strong in the winter, and of course the sun sets a lot earlier, so it's good to supplement with grow lights, but what you can expect if you're overwintering Coleus for the first time is, because of the intensity of the sun diminishing, because there's less sunlight during the day, you're not getting 12 hours or 13 hours of sunlight, you're getting maybe 6 or 7 at the lowest peak, depending on where you live. Your Coleus is going to start to go into a dormancy. And what you're going to find, first off, is you're going to see, and don't get upset, you're going to see molting. You're going to see leaves fall. They're going to fall. It's part of the deal, especially if you have a big established plant. I'm going to get to the Saturn in a minute. It's going to molt. Your color is going to become less vibrant. Now, it depends also if you have a real bright location like this that gets in a good amount of sun, and it also depends on what kind of winter you have. If you get a lot of overcast days, it's gonna affect how your Coleus develops. If you get a lot of bright sunny, if you have a real bright sunny winter, then it's gonna do a little better. If you supplement with LED full spectrum grow lights, it'll do better. But what will happen is the growth will slow dramatically. You're not going to get a lot of new growth. So that's number one. The color is going to start to fade. It's not going to be as vibrant. It's not going to look as healthy. Don't get upset. You're not doing anything wrong. You may lose a stem here or there. You may lose a big stem. You may lose half of the Coleus. I've had a large Coleus. I had a large fish net, it was probably too big to bring in the house, but it was the first time I ever had a fish net, and I couldn't get the seeds, and I didn't want to. I rooted some, but I wanted to bring the plant in. Anyway, by the time March came around, and I brought it in October or November. By the time March came around, it was a mere shell. It lost 2 major stems. It was really a fractional part of what it used to be, but it still lived. The main root, the main stem, and the root system was still healthy. So don't throw your plant out if you lose a few stems or it looks really, really bad, unless it's completely dead. There's a possibility your Coleus may not make it. If this is nice and firm and so forth, that means you got a good stem, good root. Your plant will make it through the fall and winter, but you'll lose some vibrancy. The leaves may look translucent, depending on the color, type of Coleus. It may develop seed stalks. Now, I have not gotten any seed stalks out of this Inky Fingers, but you will, on many overwinter Coleus, start getting seed stalks. If you're not interested in keeping seeds, I highly recommend you remove the seed stalks as you see them, because it's just going to overpower the plant and you're going to lose your plant, like seed stalks do. So get rid of your seed stalks. I put some Job's food spikes in here, just a few, and that's the extent of the fertilizer. There's some believe don't fertilize overwintered Coleus. I put some food spikes in there and water it. Another major thing when you're overwintering Coleus, especially here, see how the heat register here? Winters are dry. There's no humidity in the house. Once the winter starts cranking, the heat's on every day, and it's by this bay window with the sun coming in, these are going to dry out like you wouldn't believe. So I check them every single day. And believe me, in a day, this will be really, really dry. So I keep a watering can here, and you can see already it's molting. You shake it, you'll see some leaves fall off. You may see a few here. And again, they'll start to almost look translucent. They won't be as vibrant. In the past, however, with these Saturns, I found that they actually grow pretty, they grow pretty well here. So I actually get, as you can see, new growth up top here, because this loves this bright light. So I will get new growth here, but it will be a lot slower as the winter progresses. There's a seed stalk coming in. So we're going to snap that out of here. I don't need any seed stalks on this plant. So this is my overwintered Saturn. So make sure you see all this debris in here. You're going to get a lot of this. Make sure you get all the dead leaves out of that soil because it's going to rot and it just creates more problems. This is a pretty big plant for this little pot. It's the one I had left over, so I'm going to keep it. And I should have, again, I may lose one stem. This whole stem here may die. It's okay. I'll just cut it and keep it alive as best I can. And we'll go from there. And I have a small crimson. And I think I got and you can see here, it's molting already also. It's just natural. They're going to molt. And I have a small colossal marble here. Same thing. They just automatically, once they come in, when you take them from the outside and put them inside, within a week or so, they'll start to molt. I guess it's just like a reaction from going from the outside to being indoors. And again, the Job's, you can see this food spikes. I put a couple of food spikes in. This will do wonderfully here. I have an African violet, does great here. The sun is just tremendous here. This is a perfect spot for coleus, so these will do real well. So just make sure you realize you're going to lose leaves. It's natural. You may lose a stem or two. Don't go crazy with the fertilizer. Get some food spikes. Those are the easiest thing. Then you don't have to worry about feeding. It'll feed as you water them. Keep them watered. Monitor them, especially if it's near a heat register or a hot window like this. They're going to dry out, especially in these little pots. And move them around. You can see I just turned them, moving them around. And your overwintered coleus should do pretty well. And don't worry, it's going to look, it may not look great. You may say, oh my God, it's dying, it's dying. It's not, you know, just as long as it's got good roots, like Mr. Miyagi says, it has good roots, it'll do fine. As long as your stem is good here, it's not squishy, wet, it's nice, strong, it's going to do fine. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the rooting. I did a rooting video a few weeks back. You want to scroll down. But while I'm here, very important to keep your rootings going all fall and winter is frequent water changing. You can see, got a leaf in there. This hasn't really rooted, it's just starting to root. Let's see if we guys see. This one is just starting to grow some roots. Some cool water. Rinse out your jar. Let me get a coleus with a good root ball. Here we go. Here we go. There's a fishnet, dead leaf. You can see that how dirty the water is. Agitate. I fill this up and try to do this every week. I don't have the time to do it every 3 days. I do it every week if I can. I have a lot of rootings, but make sure you change your water frequently. Your root ball, you don't want to mess with it much, but rinse it. Make sure there's no debris. And make sure you have plenty of water in your vase. Your vase doesn't have to be translucent. It can be clear. I like the clear ones. I have a couple of these. I have a large. As you can see, I'm overwintering quite a few coleus. I have some inky fingers. This is going to be a big monster. Rinsing. Had some dead leaves. Rinse the root ball. There's a dead piece of leaf in there. Get that out of the root ball. I don't mess with the root much, but rinse your jar out. Make sure there's nothing stuck inside. Do this to all your roots, your rootings, or your cuttings, or your cuttings. Now this would be considered a cutting because it has not rooted yet. This I just cut the other day, but I still changed the water. It's actually dirty. It's just some of the material off of your coleus. So I changed the water, I rinsed the jar out, and hopefully this cutting will become a rooting soon. What you could do too, to help it out, this fishnet, these will do great. All of these will last all through the winter, all through the fall and winter. But it's got pretty heavy stem. They're very, very heavy stems. So what I do is I scrape a little bit on the outside off of it. Not a lot. I don't go crazy. And you can see that material coming off of it. Just a little bit. And that'll help it root a little quicker. So here's our fishnet. If you change your water weekly, rinse the root ball if there's anything in it, I pretty much guarantee your rootings will go through. They'll make it through the fall and winter. There's a possibility some of them won't. I love this little rooting. This is such a beautiful colossal marble, but look at the change, the coloration. So we're going to keep this going. It's in a nice little jar. This is perfect. What a beautiful rooting. So we're going to give this a nice cleaning. Gentle, because this is a gentle Coleus. But this is a nice little rooting, and I keep it right by this window here. It's a beautiful rooting. So make sure you change your water at least once a week or more if you can. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed. This was a little something different, a little fun, some coffee, my Darth Vader mug, a little fun and informative video. Keep your overwintered Coleus going. Keep your rootings going. Start your cuttings correctly. Change your water, watch your water, make sure your overwintered pots are not drying out too soon, too quickly. You don't want to get into that cycle too where they completely dry out, because it's stress enough to be in the house. So make sure you check it and water it every other day. And even if you're not sure, just give it a little bit of water then. You can't go wrong. And make sure your pots are drained. Hopefully everybody has that. So, all right, so I hope you enjoyed this video. I think it was a lot of fun. Don't forget Jim's Coleus on eBay. I have plenty of seeds. All seeds come from my plants as featured on my Coleus, my Jim's Coleus right here. I have Kong varieties. I have a limited amount of Darth Vader. I have a limited amount of fishnets, and I have a limited amount of Defiance. So you're not going to get as many seeds. I don't have a lot of them. If you're interested in those, you have to let me know, and I can include them. But I have a 6 to 8 varieties that I rotate. You'll get about 6 or 7 varieties in Ziploc bags, marked type of Coleus that I have. And I don't believe I have any Saturns. I didn't get any Saturn seeds. It's another one. And I found the Saturn and the Defiance and the fishnets were very difficult. I got just a few seed stalks, but the seeds are very, very, compared to like the Kong and the other varieties, they're very difficult to separate. They're very tiny. The seeds are tiny anyway. They're inherently tiny, but the seed stalks on those varieties are very, very tiny and very hard to separate. So, I have a limited amount of them, but go to Jim's Coleus on eBay. I'll have seeds through the fall and winter. I have plenty of seeds here. Jim's Coleus on eBay. You'll get fresh seeds and have lots of fun. You can learn how to grow Coleus here. I got lots of videos for you to binge watch over the winter. And by fall, and by spring, you'll be ready to go and follow along here. And I'll show you how to properly plant your Coleus seeds, which is another issue that people do. The main reason why their Coleus don't grow is because they don't plant them properly. So stay tuned here. We'll teach you how to do that. Or you can go and binge watch through my list of Coleus seed videos. I have plenty of videos through the years on how to do that. If you want to maybe start a few now. If you do buy my seeds, store them in a cool, dark closet in the package. They'll be fine. They're fresh. Coleus seeds are good up to 5 years. I don't sell Coleus seeds more than a year old. I sell fresh ones, and all through the years I've been selling Coleus seeds, I get nothing but great reviews. People are really happy with the amount of seeds, the quality of the seeds, and the overwhelming 95+% germination. So they will grow, I guarantee it. And also with the purchase, you're going to be donating a portion of the profits that I make from these to Wounded Warriors, USO, Paralyzed Veterans, Morris Animal Foundation. I rotate them around. And also, you have access to me on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube here. Any questions you have access to me personally. Just send me a message. If any questions whatsoever, no matter how trivial it is, just shoot me a message. I'll get back to you in a day or two. No matter how trivial you think it is, don't be embarrassed. Don't think it's a stupid question. It's never a stupid question. I'm more than happy to help you out. It's part of the process. Part of the purchase also is you get access to me, and I'll help you grow some great Coleus, get you hooked on Coleus so we can fill up the whole world with Coleus. So join Jim's Whole Use of Coleus. Subscribe here if you haven't already, and we'll have lots of fun together. And stick around for the fall and winter. We'll still be making some fun videos and so forth. So thanks for watching, everybody. Remember, Jim's Coleus on eBay. Get some seeds. I think I have 25 packs listed right now. We'll be listing more. If you go on and you should see it's low, whatever, don't worry about it. I'll always refresh the amount of seeds I have listed. So it's Jim's Coleus on eBay. Go there, buy some seeds. Let's have some fun. All right. Thanks, everybody. Enjoy your coffee.